This build that I'm going to show you later on with the Tec9 is not the fastest. It is just very consistent. If you want to watch someone else that does it fast and you have all the materials to do it, then you should go and obviously try and get the fastest time possible. So as a beginner, you have probably seen a bunch of people suggest to use the Tec9 when you're going to farm the Giant. I'm going to tell you why. Imagine you're a beginner and you use just whatever weapon and you don't know how anything works. So you just shoot and then you're like, okay, well, what do I have to do? And then you wait for the weak spot to show up and you try not to die. Then you actually are able to shoot the weak spot. For some reason, that weak spot is no longer damageable. Even when it's still red, it doesn't let you continue shooting a weak spot. My question is, why does the Tec9 actually bypass the system completely? So the way that the Tec9 works is that whenever you use your deviation and the deviation is elemental, that element will be imbued into the Tec9's bullets. So you'll be doing two types, weapon damage and elemental damage. Elemental / status damage, but you're not going to be able to do the actual keyword effects such as Frost Vortex or Burn. So now this is the interesting part. So let's shoot again just to see that weak spot. Let's move away, use the ability. And whenever we shoot, for some strange reason, we're still able to do a bunch of damage. And that weak spot is not going away. This kind of works with the SKS as well, although you have to charge up the deviant energy particles, so the Tec9 is just more consistent. So yeah, that is one of the reasons why people always suggest you to use the Tec9. You're gonna need the Invincible Sun. Now right now in Season 4, you can get it through some deviation bags, and preferably you would want a Invincible Sun that has extra blaze elemental damage. You also need it to be skill rating 5 so that you get that bonus status damage whenever you're putting the Invincible Sun right next to the Forsaken Giant. As for the loadout and the armor and everything like that, you obviously want the Tec9. If you're gonna use a calibration, try to use something like Assault Style with elemental damage. You're also gonna want a crossbow, the recurve crossbow. This is so that whenever you hit a weak spot, it's going to apply the bullseye and mark them, as well as give you crit rate for 10 seconds. For the armor, you could use 3 pieces of the Savior set and either 2 pieces of the Treacherous set or the Dark Resonance set. The difference between the 2-piece Dark Resonance and the Treacherous is that the 2-piece Dark Resonance will give you some shield whenever you use the ultimate for your deviation, and you'll have the weapon and status damage whenever your deviation has a cooldown, while Treacherous has weapon damage reduction and weapon and status damage whenever you're lower than 70% of your health. So choose whichever one of these that you want. For the key gear, do not use the Cowboy boots. These actually give you less damage than the earthly boots, and I can actually show that right here. Just to show how this is going to work, you're going to shoot with the crossbow, and then you're going to swap over to the Tec9, and then you're going to use your deviation. So shoot with the crossbow, swap over to the Tec9, use your deviation ultimate, and then just start shooting. And as you can see, my maximum critical damage is 47,902. If I swap over to the earthly boots and do the exact same thing, my maximum damage is 49,616. So always just use the earthly boots. For the mods, on the Tec9, you can try something like the burn damage stuff, but I prefer using the regular Fortress Warfare mods and just stick with portable territory. This will make it so whenever you walk out, you will have the Fortress Warfare status for 2 seconds. For the suffix, I would prefer to go with Fortress Warfare. This gives you the most damage compared to the rest of them. On the crossbow, what you're mainly looking for is Vulnerability Amplifier. If it's a shiny, that's great. If not, don't worry. On the helmet, the mod is Deviation Expert with the suffix Deviant Energy. If you have a better mod than this, such as Lunar or even Crescent, check whichever one has the most amount of damage and then just use that one. For the mask, you're going to want to use Targeted Strike because this is going to give you more crit rate and crit damage when you're hitting a marked enemy. So if you remember, whenever you use the crossbow, you're already marking them and that's already giving you more critical rate. So when you stack this with this, you're going to get a total of plus 25% extra critical rate. You can try Unbreakable or even the Light Cannon one. This is going to give you more damage while you're in Fortress Warfare. I just prefer using the targeted strike because this seems to be more consistent for me. On the top, I'm using Rejuvenating because this is my highest one. The best one is probably going to be Ardent Shield because this is going to prevent you from being one-shotted. In other words, what this mod does is whenever your shield breaks, whatever remaining damage is meant to go to your health will not actually attack your health, and it will just break your shield instead. If you don't have any good ones, just use your highest one. For defense, I'm using Distant Strike, just regular arrow. What Distant Strike does is whenever you're 20 meters away, you're going to get weak spot plus 20%, and whenever you walk 1 meter, you're going to get 1% extra weak spot up to 20%. So the maximum is up to 40 meters. For the gloves, I'm using Crit Amplifier. This one I am using Aero Deviant Energy. And for the boots, you want to use Rush Hour. I'm using Downstar because it's my highest damage one. Obviously, Downstar does not work with something like the Giant because you are never going to be above the Giant. So here is when you're going to want to use Phantasmal or just a regular one of these. For the Cradle, you're going to want to use Precision Weapon Mastery for the SMG damage, Status Enhancement, Deviant Energy Defense, Elemental Sense, Steady Hand, Marked Strike, you're going to get weak spot damage, Blazing Detonation because whenever you're using the Invincible Sun, you're actually going to be activating this, so you'll get even more burn damage, and this actually does work with the Tec9. And Heavy Strike because obviously this is Fortress Warfare, so you're going to get more weapon damage. As for the hides on all of the armor, the only one that does matter somewhat is the mask because this is going to be the one that lets you have more damage. So I'm using Lunar Wool for more status damage. You can use something else that gives you elemental damage, so if you want to use either or, that is fine, just make sure it's gold tier. For the food that you're gonna use, so if you're a gardener like me, for the food, you're preferably going to want to either use Layered Galaxy for extra elemental damage while you're airborne, or the sausage for extra damage against bosses. For the drink, you always want to go with Whimsical Drink, the status damage version, not the weapon damage bonus version. If you're a chef though, then you can use both the whimsical drinks, or if you have a better damaging one, such as a soup, and then you put whatever meat that gives you more damage. For the food, you're going to want to use Layered Galaxy and the sausage, because that's going to give you the most damage. And if for whatever reason, if you can't get the sausage, then just use the hot dog. I didn't mention this, the other thing that you're going to want is Aero Leap and maybe even Featherweight for all the items that you're going to be carrying if you're going to farm this for a very long time. So the reason why is because Aero Leap lets you dash and Featherweight is going to increase your load. So as you can see right now, I have a bunch of weight and I can't run. So if I use the Featherweight, that will increase my load. This is pretty simple. And now I can run again. What Aero Leap does is if you press your dodge button in air, it will do that. The longer you hold it, the longer the dash will be. So with that being said, let's actually test this against the Giant to see how it will do. So first, remember, you're going to pull out your crossbow, then you're going to swap to your Tec9, and then you're going to use your ability, and then you're going to Aero Leap to the left. So shoot him in the weak spot, swap to your Tec9, use your ability, and then Aero Leap to the left, and then just start shooting. Now that wasn't very fast, but that's also because the weak spot damage was not activating, so let's do that again. Also just reload the crossbow, do weak spot, swap, ability, Aero Leap to the left, and then there you go. That was a lot faster. Grab your loot, reload the crossbow, and then there you can see I got 18 seconds. So let's try this again. Weak spot, swap, ability, Aero Leap to the left, call the back, shoot up, and then there you go. And yeah, that is how I have been farming the Forsaken Giant. Obviously, this is not going to be beginner friendly because you're going to have to get all of the mods and all of the other stuff, but once you have them, then you're going to be able to farm calibrations and a bunch of the other stuff such as Stardust Source. As you can see here, I have thousands of it just from farming the Forsaken Giant, and you're also going to get a bunch of energy links. You get about 12,000 if you do this on Pro, and then I think 8,000 if you do this on hard mode. Okay, so let's test this again. Remember, you can Aero Leap into here, shoot him in the weak spot, swap, use your ability, Aero Leap to the left, back up. Holy crap, yeah, that sometimes will happen. Okay, that was not very good. Let's try that again. Aero Leap, weak spot, swap, ability, Aero Leap to the left, call the deviation back, shoot up, and there you go. My maximum was about 101,000, if I saw correctly. And yeah, I'm still getting consistent 15-second runs. So obviously this was just a bridge for you guys to start farming the giant. If you want to min-max and do this in like 11 seconds and watch those videos, but I just did this to show how you can do it consistently for at least like 15 to 18 seconds. This can go up to 24 seconds or more if the Forsaken Giant for whatever reason does not want to show its weak spot. Hopefully this was somewhat useful to you guys, and with that being said, I am out.